So I watched the replay of Nintendo's latest Direct yesterday, finally getting around to talking about it a little bit today. I missed the live feed because I was at work, but I was glad when I saw it, trying to avoid spoilers and everything, that there's a lot of good information. I'm really glad Nintendo is continuing in this format. I know there was a little bit of discussion and decision whether or not they should, after Iwata's passing, continue with this format, and I'm glad they are. I think it really works for them. I really like the Nintendo Directs and lots of little updates throughout the year. I think they're pretty interesting, done pretty well. This one had a few failed attempts at humor in it, but overall it was still good. And there was a lot of interesting content where they were very clear before the Nintendo Direct, when it was first announced, that there was not going to be any mobile news or news about the NX, and I'm glad they decided to go that route, because while they are kind of dropping the Wii U, they're not just outright dropping the Wii U very quickly before the NX even launches. They're not going to really tick off the Wii U audience, the owners who are going to eventually want to adopt something like the NX, but I feel like they're going to give a good year to year and a half of support for the Wii U and the NX at the same time, trying to kind of phase out that audience but still keep the Wii U individuals happy while the NX kind of picks up steam and starts to challenge the PS4 and the Xbox One directly. And one good hint to that was they did pretty much declare that Zelda Wii U, at the end of their showcase of Twilight Princess HD, is going to still be coming to the Wii U, and I think they, in a way, from what was shown, I think it's pretty much going to be confirmed now that Zelda Wii U is going to be another Twilight Princess thing, where it's going to be a dual release on the Wii U and the NX, and possibly have some additional features that make the NX version worth it. Because you really can't launch the NX and have one of your best franchises have a new release on the previous system. You can't have, say the NX launches at the end of next summer in August, and you have Zelda Wii U launching in June on the Wii U. You can't have that. That's really going to hurt the NX, but at the same time, that's really going to hurt your fan base and prevent people who bought a Wii U for games like Zelda from moving on to the NX if you only have it on the NX and just drop the Wii U version. I think it's a really smart decision, and I really hope that they do some similar things with some games, transferring things over to the NX but keeping Wii U people happy. Lots of good information, a little bit for everyone, with a lot of kind of DLC content, additional things for Splatoon, Amiibo stuff, a little bit this here and that, and a lot of stuff that wasn't incredibly interesting to me personally, but interesting as far as wanting to know what's going on with Nintendo and how they're handling things and how they're handling the change in leadership now. And I think everything is kind of moving along more smoothly than some people anticipated, and I think there's a good chance of the NX doing well. Another hint of that is the big announcement of Cloud Strife being in Smash Brothers, which is pretty cool in itself. I'm usually not one for focusing on DLC. I don't really like additional content after the release, if it's not physically on the disc. But this is something I will enjoy, having kind of like Cloud Shulk battles. I think it'll be fun. It's a really good move, and some people are kind of freaking out, like, how is that possible? Final Fantasy VII, why is he in Smash and all this stuff? And is that saying that Final Fantasy VII Remake might make it on the NX? And of course it will be. I mean, come on. The Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be a timed PS4 exclusive. We already know that. And we don't know how long that gap could be. It could even be as much as 6 months, who knows, or as short as a couple months. But we know that Final Fantasy VII Remake, Sony's going to take advantage of that, and they're going to launch it and sell probably the most units on the PS4, really focus on that version. But then Square is really going to spread it around. I guarantee we're going to see it on the Xbox One, we're going to see it on the NX, we might even eventually see it on Steam, who knows. I think it's going to be something where Sony takes advantage of the launch and makes maybe a limited edition PS4 with Final Fantasy VII, or a repackaged limited edition Final Fantasy VII that's only available on the PS4. But yeah, the NX is going to get the Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's definitely not something that's confirmed, but I think it's almost guaranteed, and we're going to see stuff like Dragon Quest XI on the NX. We're going to see a lot of that stuff over there. And so that was kind of one of the big things. For me, though, the only two really big announcements that really attracted me but really made this whole thing worth it was related to Dragon Quest, and that is we're actually getting Dragon Quest 7 and 8, the 3DS versions, in the States, something I really thought was never going to happen, particularly 7. 8, I could see it was still kind of, it's been a while, but 8 was still fairly popular in North America. 7 was not. 7 was huge in Japan and kind of bombed, as one of the last games to be called Dragon Warrior over here in the States. I really didn't think that was coming, so that's really exciting, and it's really interesting for me because I'm not a huge Dragon Quest fan. I love RPGs, but when it comes to Dragon Quest, I enjoy the series. I haven't played a whole lot of them because I like things like Final Fantasy better, or Shin Megami Tensei, or Wild Arms, or Arc the Lad, or Star Ocean. There's just so many more, Shadow Hearts. I like Dragon Quest, but there's so many I like more. And it was interesting for me because I was very disheartened with these two releases because there were only two Dragon Quest games that I really, really, really like. Not casually, but really like, and those are 7 and 8. So the fact that there were 3DS ports and basically a remake of 7 for 3DS, I was very excited, and eventually I was going to import them, but now I don't have to. Now I can get them in English and just get them at home and play them, and I'm very excited. Dragon Quest VII was actually the first game in the series I played. I missed out when I had my NES on the Dragon Quest games. Played other RPGs in the NES, missed out on those. Since then, I've gone back and played a lot of the old Dragon Quest games. Even just got this less than a year ago, the original Dragon Quest on NES, and finally played that and enjoyed them. But 7 was the first one that I played in the series and one that I really liked, so I was excited to get this updated version. And 8 is one of my favorite games of all time, and I think a lot of that is more because it was made by Level 5, who's one of my favorite companies, rather than the fact that it's Dragon Quest. And I think the combination, the marriage of those two things was just fantastic and created what I really think is the best game in the series by a long shot, just from my perspective. So those are really exciting announcements, and I can't believe we're actually getting those. So really cool. I'm glad this Nintendo Direct, the first one after Iwata's passing, really went smoothly, and it looks like Nintendo might be heading in the right direction. Again, not a whole lot of information, of course, on the NX and the big things about the future, but I think there were a lot of good hints kind of sprinkled throughout this Direct that showed things behind the scenes are moving smoothly and in the right direction, and we're going to see the NX, a system launched midway through a generation, actually probably is going to be a good competitor, and I'm pretty excited to see what the future holds.